One quiet evening, you gaze up at the starry sky. Each glowing point isn't just light, it's a world. Billions of stars, billions of planets. But is there anyone out there, beyond the silent vastness of space? We ask ourselves this question often, and now science has a surprisingly specific answer. There could be as many as 36 intelligent alien civilizations in our galaxy. Yes, you heard that right. Not 3, not 5, not 100, but exactly 36. It sounds absurdly precise, and yet this number wasn't plucked from a science fiction novel. It comes from calculations made by British astronomers and published in a scientific journal. They based their work on the famous Drake equation, but adjusted it using the latest knowledge about exoplanets and life on Earth. But let's start with the basics. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, contains around 200 billion stars. If even every second star has planets, and 1 in every 100 has an Earth-like planet, we are already talking about millions of potential second Earths. Of course, not every planet is suitable for life. It might be too hot, too cold, too toxic, or simply lack water. Even so, statistics suggest that tens of millions of worlds in our galaxy alone might be habitable. Researchers from the University of Nottingham posed the question: if intelligent life develops no less often than it did on Earth, how many civilizations could theoretically be active right now? Their conclusion: anywhere from 4 to 211, with 36 being the most optimistic estimate. But hold on, if there really are 36 of them, why haven't we seen any yet? This is the paradox that Enrico Fermi once posed. If aliens exist, where are they? Why hasn't anyone contacted us, sent a signal, or simply arrived? It's one of the most unsettling mysteries in modern science. Perhaps they, like us, are afraid to reveal themselves. Or maybe they simply lack the technology to transmit a signal across thousands of light years. Or, more disturbingly, perhaps every civilization ends up destroying itself before it ever reaches the stars. But let's not jump to bleak conclusions too quickly. Some scientists suggest that life isn't a rare miracle, it's a natural outcome. When the conditions are right, it appears, it grows, and sometimes it becomes intelligent. But then what? That's where everything gets complicated. Perhaps intelligent beings have no interest in space at all. Maybe they live underwater, deep beneath layers of ice, or in subterranean cities, completely unaware of the universe beyond. Or on the contrary, maybe they have already mastered interstellar travel, but have chosen to observe us without interfering, just as we observe wild animals in a nature reserve. There's a theory known as the zoo hypothesis. It proposes that more advanced civilizations deliberately avoid contact with humanity so we can evolve on our own. They aren't interested in disrupting our history, just as a director isn't interested in interfering with a movie while it's still playing. But what if we simply can't recognize alien communication? What if they don't speak in words or use radio waves, but some form of expression so alien that we cannot even imagine it? One of the most intriguing hypotheses suggests that we've already received signals from other civilizations, but failed to recognize them. Too faint, too rare, too strange. The most famous case is the WAV signal, recorded in the year 1977. It lasted only 72 seconds, came from the direction of the Sagittarius constellation, and had such a clear structure that scientists attributed it to an artificial source. But the signal was never repeated. Not once. Neither before nor after. Maybe it was a coincidence. Or maybe a brief greeting we never responded to. Some experts believe that the universe may be full of signals, but we're only listening on one narrow frequency. Imagine having a radio receiver while alien civilizations are broadcasting in infrared, ultraviolet, or even gravitational waves. We are simply not tuned into the right wavelength. Now picture a different scenario. An advanced civilization might not use radio at all. It could transmit information through quantum means, using particles completely undetectable to our antennas. For them, radio waves might be as primitive as smoke signals are to us. Crude, outdated, utterly inefficient. That's why we could be sitting in a noisy room full of voices and yet not understand a word, because we don't speak the language. Now let's move on to a more unsettling hypothesis. What if they're already here? Stephen Hawking once warned, if you hear footsteps in the jungle, it might not be a human. We should be cautious about seeking contact. Broadcasting a message into space saying "here we are" is like putting up a sign in a shop window. Those who answer might not be friendly. Human history confirms this. Encounters between more advanced and less advanced civilizations often end poorly for the latter. The conquistadors were not merciful to the Aztecs, despite their accomplishments. And who says aliens would be humane? But there's also another point of view. Physicist Michio Kaku has said, if a civilization can cross interstellar distances, it must be far older than us. And if it's older, it has likely moved past the stages of war and destruction. We're teenagers. They're adults. They have no reason to conquer us. They're probably more curious to see how we survive. In other words, we might just be a long-term observation project, like an ant colony under glass. Moreover, we already know of thousands of exoplanets, some of which are located in what scientists call the habitable zone. Among the most intriguing are TRAPPIST-1, Kepler-442b, and Proxima b. These worlds orbit stars similar to our Sun and are close in size to Earth. And here's what really matters. If even one of them harbors life, then we are no longer alone. Today, numerous projects around the world are actively searching for signs of extraterrestrial life. Among them are SETI, the most well-known initiative, focused on detecting radio signals breakthrough listen, funded by billionaire Yuri Milner. This project uses the world's largest radio telescope's JWST James Webb Space Telescope. It analyzes the atmospheres of exoplanets, searching for biomarkers like oxygen, methane, and carbon dioxide. But even with all the power of these instruments, we still haven't found anything. Why? Some scientists argue that we might be looking in the wrong place or for the wrong thing. Perhaps we're waiting for a radio signal when we should be searching for laser pulses, or even for archaeological traces on the Moon or Mars. What if ancient civilizations have already left messages for us, but they remain buried under layers of dust, ice, or stone? The number 36 sounds surprisingly specific, but it's important to understand this isn't a precise count, but rather an estimate based on the assumption that life evolves in a way similar to how it did on Earth. However, Earth is only a single experiment, just one, with a known outcome. We still don't know how typical that outcome really is. What if life like ours arises far more frequently, but rarely advances to a technologically developed stage? Or, on the contrary, what if it occurs only once in a billion cases, and we truly are alone in the galaxy? But if we're not alone, where is everyone else? Perhaps there's a massive filter between us and other civilizations. This is the idea that most forms of life don't make it past a certain barrier. Nuclear war, climate catastrophe, biological threats, artificial intelligence, the list goes on. Maybe we haven't encountered the filter yet, or perhaps we already have, and we're now among the rare survivors. One possible scenario suggests that civilizations do arise, but they can't survive for long. That would explain why, at any given moment, there are so few, and why the estimate lands on such a small number, 36. Imagine this. Breaking news announces that a repeating signal has been detected from deep space. It's not natural. It's not a pulsar, not radio noise. It's a sequence of numbers, or an image, or a voice. What happens to humanity? Some will say, this is the beginning of a new era. Others will panic. Myths will resurface, religions will stir, and fear of the unknown will spread. Some will believe it's the end of the world, others a sign of salvation, and many will claim it's all fake. But the most profound change will be in how we see ourselves. We will no longer think of ourselves as the center of the universe. We will realize we are just one form of consciousness, one version of intelligence among many. It could become the greatest catalyst in the evolution of humanity, just like the discovery that Earth wasn't the center of the cosmos once changed everything. And there are other possibilities. Maybe the first contact won't come through signals, but through the discovery of alien artifacts, or through neural networks that learn to analyze vast amounts of data and uncover traces of extraterrestrial technology. Perhaps aliens have already entered the digital realm, not as humanoids, but as digital forms of life. And they communicate not through antennas, but through algorithms. We live in a galaxy filled with hundreds of billions of stars and millions of planets that may be capable of supporting life. According to calculations, up to 36 intelligent civilizations could exist simultaneously right now if life developed even somewhat similarly to how it did on Earth. The lack of contact so far is not proof that we're alone. It may simply reflect the limitations of our technology or search strategies. Humanity might be at the very beginning of a long journey, or perhaps we've already passed a critical barrier, becoming a rare exception in the history of the universe. If contact does happen, it will forever change our civilization, our worldview, culture, religion, and science. And perhaps it might even save us from self-destruction by helping us understand that we are not alone and that we must be worthy of that truth. So next time you look up at the stars, remember, someone might be looking back.